You're listening to Digital Society Podcast, Active Citizens in a Connected World. The pandemic generated an unprecedented social mobilization of aid at local levels across the globe. The European Commission's initial pledge marathon raised 7.4 billion euros for its coronavirus global response for universal access to vaccines, treatments and tests. Globally and in Europe, we have never been more connected and solidar as we are during this crisis despite harsh mobility restrictions. Yet we are all under threat from deepening the divide between the haves and the have-nots. It is within this context of prolonged systemic break that we must find solutions and build resilient responses. The local level mobilization in Romania has been awe-inspiring. A recent study estimates that around half of the Romanians donated to different causes during the COVID-19 pandemic. 46% reported they donated directly to hospitals and medical centers, while 36% reported to have donated to different causes fighting against the pandemic, with an average of a little over 50 euros per person and an average of 3 donations per Romanian respondent. 63% of the respondents reported that they think children and youth, especially those living in poverty, need the most support during these times. In this episode of the Digital Society podcast, Social and Tech, we invited a role model to speak about his own experience of building lasting social change through technology. Radu Ticiu is a local hub and a structural fold, a person who crafted around himself a social and professional ecosystem that invariably contributes to systemic and sustainable social change. His dynamic social networks, built since the early 90s, and his exposure to out-of-the-box thinking have prompted him to quick and resounding actions during the pandemic. His power to mobilize an incredible amount of brain power and resources have reverberated into ripples of mobilization that traded in innovation and positive social impact. Let's listen to Radu's stories of what mental, social, and institutional frameworks make the combination of social and tech successful. It's time to connect, learn, act.
So Radu, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to talk for at our episode Social and Tech. We decided to make this episode in English because it's going to be our first release in English for our international audience. And the reason why we chose you to interview for this episode is because you are involved in so many interesting things, and I think you are a great example actually for how you can get things done, both in times of crisis and before crisis and post-crisis. So I think you're an inspiration for many people who want to get involved in this area of using tech for social good. So having said those, please tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your personal story?
So, first of all, thanks for inviting me and for opening a series of English language interventions in your show. You can see I'm a gray-haired one, so there are lots of stories to be disclosed. Some of them probably are not to be disclosed, but probably I should start by saying that I'm probably unexpectedly a non-tech guy. So I'm not a programmer, despite the fact that I'm active in lots of activities related to programming education. I had some technical studies. I started at some point in another era under the communist times. I started electronics university studies. I chose to quit them after the revolution because it was obvious that we are entering a time when dealing with people can be much more of effect for your own person and for the society than working with, I don't know, transistors or integrated circuits. After the revolution, I also studied medicine, so probably something people will consider opposed to electronics. The bad thing is that I ended up not practicing medical activities, despite discovering that it's a fantastic profession, the system at that time, and unfortunately even now it's the system where you can practice this profession in Romania is not necessarily the best place to spend your life. Another important thing that happened at the beginning of 90s was my connection with the youth organization world. I entered in some international youth organization based in Germany, and that exposed me to a very different way of looking to the surrounding world, to a different way to accept the diversity of the society, to interact with people from whenever you can imagine, but overall to try to generate activism within the youth groups within local communities, being them smaller metropolitan ones. And yeah, working in these organizations also brought me closer to the project management. I don't know, accessing grants for implementing one's ideas.
So when was that? Around what
it was I started it early in 1990.
Okay.
And I worked with that organization till the end of the previous millennium. When I graduated the medical school, I've been also active in other kind of non-profits, in the public participation ones. So there was Asociația Pro-Democrația, so Pro-Democracy Association, trying to encourage people to participate in the administration of their village, city, whatever, in elections, in building and progressing civic initiatives, or in generating dialogue with the politicians and with those in charge, with running the show at a wider scope. Probably all this mixed brought me in position to choose to quit even that medical direction in my life and start working in a very atypical organization here in Timișoara. It was the Agency for Economic and Social Development of Timiș County, so kind of innovative type of organization, thinking visionary, building visions, drafting strategies, trying to accelerate the evolution of this specific territory, the Timiș County.
So this was already what year?
It was 1990, 2000 when I started that.
And is this a public institution?
Yeah, it was a strange kind of organization. It was initiated by a public body, by the county council, but its whole philosophy and approach was very close to the non-profit way of acting. brought me in position to interact with people from various types of geographies, so small villages, small towns that were in a transformative moment in their evolution. Those confronted with the difficulties of switching from the communist time, from the planned economy to a new approach, trying to replace the mono-industrial companies, state-owned previously, towards more dynamic, more diverse kind of economy, with the involvement of local population, with this new kind of beings, the non-profits, the non-governmental organization.
So very effervescent era,
times,
right? With a lot of fundamental changes in the way that people did things and related to development, no, at the local level.
It was a moment when models that were practiced in, let's say, Western world proved that they can unlock and boost a local community towards a new direction of evolution that's more in control of the community and not planned by I don't know what kind of.
So what would be an example of a practice that you particularly found successful at that time, or that you wished to see implemented, and then you actually managed to implement it?
There was a very interesting project entitled the Local Promoter. So this organization invented a type of professional embedded in the public institution, in the local government, supposed to think outside of the box, supposed to be kind of a catalyst of whatever kind of local evolutions that would need to be devised in order to generate at least in a single word progress, or evolution. And it was quite interesting to see that people who were not exposed to any previous formal education in this field, because I think even now I'm not sure that this community development, either economic or social, is taught somewhere in the universities in Romania. They were able to generate interesting ideas, interesting projects to convey the local energies and competencies or interests to change things and generate.
So they were the kinds of, local level influencers, the ones that motivated, sparked the community's ideas and
also kind of translators of various concepts that are used in the let's say modern Western world to maybe to some mayors that were in position for last 15 years, for example. So they were kind of intermediaries between the past, present, and
the future.
And the future,
So for how long were you involved in this kind of
So it was
work?
not such a long time. It was like 2 or 3 years. The organization was dependent of its success in approaching funding, and at some point there was a period when the resources were almost totally drained, and also there was some political changes, and the overall freedom of this organization was affected.
Stake.
Yeah. And at that moment I moved to another visionary organization, resource center for non-profits, that I was involved also previously, but not in a full-time employment context. That's the agency for informing and development of NGOs, and again an organization that was tackling unexpected topics, things that we were trying to bring to Timișoara at that time. Unfortunately, we ended up having them implemented much later, like 3 or 4 years ago. For example, the community foundation. Also we have been kind of pioneers in transforming the volunteering in a wide range practice here in Timișoara, trying to connect to global networks and global events. In 2002, the United Nations celebrated or implemented the first International Volunteers Year, and we've been part of that, and again we have supported various types of organizations to improve their practices in this field. So as always, I was fortunate enough to deal with new ideas, new concepts, new types of approach, and again in contact with dedicated people, with enthusiasts, no matter age, no matter, I don't know, profession, but people involved in these public good initiatives.
So you managed for a long time to do this in a quite organized way, right? Did you ever get out of the organized way of, I don't know, getting to ideas and then starting to implement it? So not from, mainstream organization, but maybe from, other kinds of paths.
All this organization and context I was mentioning before were not mainstream at all. So I'm continuing to be in that type of mindset, and even now I'm lucky enough to be able to propose things and to start implementing them with no major, I don't know, frictions, and I'm still in good shape in being a generator of ideas.
But then what's your main infrastructure of making these ideas happen?
I'm part of a very dynamic community. We are not settled as an organization. We are a group of committed individuals, people ready to experiment, people that are ready to implement concepts that we are finding, I don't know,
in thin air.
In the thin air, or we are inventing them.
So who is this we?
We. So mostly mostly like 99.9% volunteers. Yeah. For example, for 8 years already now, we are building a network of clubs of non-formal education in the field of programming, robotics, tech stuff.
And how did you
That's
get to
CoderDojo, yeah.
How did you get to that idea?
Again, it's not our invention, but a concept that sounded very sexy in 2011 or 12
Still
when
is
I
very
heard.
much so.
Yeah. So I think I've read on TechCrunch about some guys in a small town or a small city in Ireland that started a free-to-attend, volunteer-run club of programming education for kids in the pre-university age brackets. I thought at that moment, wow, that sounds great. It took us, I don't know, 1.5 years until we have started our own implementation. I think that 1 year after we have started, we've met one of the co-founders, and after spending one day here at the first edition of Startup Weekend Timișoara I have organized with my team, he told me, there will be a blanket coverage of such clubs in Timișoara in a few years. I said, okay.
Sounded pretty abstract at the time, huh?
I knew how difficult it was to have one.
Yes.
And we ended now with, 18 or 19 such clubs, autonomous but interconnected as a network in Timișoara, with hundreds of kids attending, not now in these pandemic times.
Yes.
With, close to 100 mentors that are dedicating their time as volunteers each Saturday, some of them even in 2 different dojos, so dedicating a full day over the weekend to inspire, to help, to direct these kids. So that's kind of a group I'm working with, and we are inventing.
I see, but there are many sort of good ideas floating around, and there are many certainly interested people and volunteers to do stuff. But for you, at least with CoderDojo, for example, how did you get from you said 1.5 years, yeah? What happened in that 1.5 years until you started making the first club, and what happened in between making the first club and having 18, 19? So how did you institutionalize a volunteering activity?
Of course, such an enterprise cannot be a one-man show, and the idea is to build the initial core group to start this thing. It was, I think in the CoderDojo initial implementation, it was like 3 or 4 months. We have met probably twice a month, and trying to envisage what we are interested to build, and then we started to bring in the ingredients and started to bake the end product. And at some point we've been forced, okay, now we have to call the participants and we'll see what will emerge. Nothing, we knew who we want to bring in. We were not that sure what will emerge, but we started with 4 or 5 mentors with like 20 kids, and after the first edition we all decided, okay, let's meet next week and we'll repeat this experience and improve it. And all these 8 years of evolution from that initial implementation to this local network was continuous experimenting. We have invented, I don't know, thematically specialized clubs. So there is the CoderDojo that deals with bioinformatics. There is a dojo specializing in cybersecurity. Another one in the preparation dealing with design and the creative part of web projects, for example. Also, one way of generating this network is by managing tensions. When you have a team of, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 guys that are involved, probably you will not be successful in bringing everyone on the same page. And then if there is a group with a different vision on things, instead of, I don't know, annihilating him, that group,
give them a platform.
Give them a platform and trying to find them a different place or group of beneficiaries to work with and to bake their own shade of the common initial vision.
Yes, that sounds very interesting. So what would be, can you share with us a few of the results of this CoderDojo and its adjacent projects?
One important lesson to learn is that you always have within your beneficiaries the future implementers. So, and we are always empowering kids to take over these more complex roles. They're starting as ninjas, so people with zero knowledge, experience, but with a huge will and motivation to progress and to learn. And as long as they're progressing technically, you're smart if you're also able to add to this technical part all sorts of social skills, I don't know, project management, leadership layers to make them able to take over whenever there's a need. And so it's happening quite often that fifth grader to be a mentor of an eighth grader that's more of a newcomer in that specific field. And then you can see a group of kids coming at some point during a session and asking, we would like to spend more time in such an environment. What would you think about organizing a Coder night? Nights, you have to receive... No, but you have to convince your parents that you're in a proper environment. Then you will... Yes, we will manage. When they see the coder part in the name of the project or the event, they will accept. And from now, okay, you want to benefit of that, build it by yourself. Ask us when you cannot, I don't know, get a specific part done, but
exactly,
build a puzzle and be the owner of your idea.
That's very empowering.
Totally, yes.
How many kids do you have so far in this circuit of?
I think that we have exceeded 1,000. Wow. I'm pretty sure that, and it's quite rewarding to get in contact with them after years. Some of them left Timișoara and now we are discussing with guys who are graduated of various universities in UK, and they are promising, when I will come to Timișoara next winter, please make sure that you will invite us to meet the new ninjas and to interact with them. And
they also want to give back now.
that's a constant of this kind of project. The beneficiaries understand the value such a project brings to participants, and they want to contribute in various ways. And so quite often when we have a new idea and we need, I don't know, funding for a specific activity, we are just crying out. And those who are now, I don't know, employees in the City of London, in JP Morgan, are writing a check of £100 for our activities. So it's good to see that people are not just benefiting their hope, developing a long life bond with CoderDojo.
Absolutely. So let me mention a few of the projects that I know you are involved with, which are probably just a fraction of the actual project that you're involved with.
Let's see what you know about.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about the TM projects, right? Ventilate me, educate me, you name the other ones.
So the TM set of projects were kind of rapid reactions to the COVID-19 times. They were initiatives trying to solve specific problems affecting various types of people, and they started in March, I think, with the Ventilate Me project. It was an effort to develop a mechanical ventilator to equip the medical system with, at that time, apparently really needed, let's call them artisanal mechanical ventilators. That moment with the Italian experience and the Spanish one, apparently all the medical systems in affected countries were supposed to not cope with the size of the infection, and we were decided to try to complement the existing park of ventilators with rapidly developed tools that can be eventually be single-use type of life-saving tool. It was quite interesting to see people from the tech ecosystem embarking in a journey that was familiar to none of us, building a product apparently complex, needing to comply to a lot of standards that in a normal time would cost 50,000 euros per piece. Wow. With suppliers in counts of, I don't know, one digit worldwide. So you are trying to build something to replicate the product of a, I don't know, multi-billion corporation developed over probably 10, 15, 25 years long.
So that is an exceptionally ambitious idea. How did it work out?
So it was fantastic to see that most of the needed components were developed in outstanding pace. So after how with dedicated people, with controversies, with debates, with again groups that were debating over
how to do it,
or which of the potential solution to choose. It was, I don't know, fantastic to see that companies from various fields were ready to provide specific components. I don't know, a special type of dye or was needed, or a special type of plastic that was acceptable to be used in medical appliances, to be so they were extremely rapidly able to identify suppliers and made it available to our group in matter of days. Again, it was fantastic to have all this work performed in a non-typical way, with online interaction, with new tools that were not previously used, all these Zooms and I don't know, Discords and Telegrams, and again it was nice to see the Romanian diaspora answering to this call for involvement. So experts living in Rome, for example, or in US, they were participating with their expertise, some of them with their own money, buying, I don't know, sets of electric motors, sending them over, finding way to circumvent the limitation in exportation of medical supplies. So it was an overwhelming experience to see all these people.
So overall, how many people were involved in this?
So the initial group was formed by about 90, 100 people. And
well, a team as big as the idea, right?
Yeah, and the key team that was supposed to coordinate the development, they are coming from the 3D printing industry, and one part of the philosophy was that we need that type of components that can be manufactured remotely or distributed. And starting from this principle, we have opened another call for small individual shops or small companies that own 3D printing tools or this CNC, the numeric command machineries. So we ended up with a national network of about 400 let's call them printing shops, that were able to start printing different components when needed and where needed.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure how to define this, we were not brought to the situation to really have our equipment clinically needed. So
yes.
Right now we have prototypes that are ready to be manufactured. The software is I think 90% ready to be
So this is an open
embedded.
source software?
Yes, it's an open source. The whole project is open source. So
did you also get into discussions at the global level with
of course,
other
yeah.
Was there a need in some other part maybe of the globe of
so as far as we know, the most advanced equipments were used in tests on animals, but so non-human was saved by such a.
Yes.
But again, on a global scale, it was a fantastic. Actually, it was a fantastic experiment for the whole species.
Yes.
I would say.
Indeed.
And again, we are coming to this big number teams that are dynamic, and out of which one group decides, okay, you are good in what you are doing, we are not able to consume all our availability, all our enthusiasm, all our expertise, so we'll start our own project. So out of Ventilate Me, we came to several other projects. One of them was a team developing another kind of medical supply, the positive pressure helmet to be used by medical staff in the COVID-19 departments of hospitals, to avoid the annoying masks, and so that was the Irate Me project. Another need that became obvious in April, May was the need to facilitate the access to education of the kids from underserved, underprivileged families that were not able either to connect to internet or to use a device in order to participate with their colleagues, teachers in the online education activities. And in order to participate to the solution generating for this, we have started the Educate Me. It's an effort that activates the community, both individuals and organizations, to mobilize their used equipments by donating them to our center of operations. We're here on the terrace of Educate Me right now. So we're again, lots of volunteers are collecting these equipments, verifying, testing, cleaning, repairing them, and build lots of equipment to be transferred to communities where kids are not able to participate to this online education. And again, we are working with a quite diverse group of volunteers, starting with even pre-high school kids, and including professionals from the tech fields, teachers, a very diverse demography here.
So how do you decide which beneficiaries benefit first?
When we're talking about this educational project, we are relying on third parties. We are avoiding our own involvement in defining who will be the beneficiary of the equipment. So we are interacting with non-profits in the villages or in the small towns where we are ready to serve. Also teachers that are involved in various non-profit activities, so they have a first-hand understanding of the local needs. We are not relying on the figures that are delivered by the for example the education, the Ministry of Education. We want more because so they are that are called numbers.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
We want to have this information connected also with consideration of the social status of the family. We want to understand why we should divert, orient one computer to one kid that is defined as beneficiary by the statistics. He's a beneficiary. There is one kid that needs a laptop, and another kid, he also needs a laptop, but he needs the laptop in the context when he has, I don't know, 5 other siblings. His mother is unemployed, or his father works abroad and is no more able to send money. He's an unemployed in Italy, or so. And we are receiving a more descriptive image of the local needs, and then together with these locals, our partners, we are splitting and identifying those that are in deepest need.
So you maintain an active database of the beneficiaries,
yes.
And how many did you manage so far to distribute?
We have distributed like 230 pieces of equipment.
And I've just seen in your headquarters a full house of equipment.
We have a full house of...
Well, it's not a full, there always space for more.
The idea is that we have this balance. We have lots of monitors for now, and now we are looking for central units to build up the fully functional system.
But I hear you're also, so tell me a little bit about the operating system.
We have decided to go open source to avoid any, potential disputes on the usage of proprietary software with all that legal considerations that can ruin such a initiative. So we have defined a standard configuration, including all this operating system, all the conferencing softwares, all this remote access possibilities. So when we are handing over a computer, we are entering a relationship with the beneficiary. So we know technically how the equipment is used. We don't know what kind of, for example, internet areas are accessed. We have limited the access to, you can imagine what kind of areas, but we know how how intensively the computer is used, how it's performances are.
And the beneficiaries know this, right?
Yes, they know. They sign. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And so we have an open communication with them. They can call us whenever
So when you
they
say
face.
them, do you actually mean the children or the teachers or the parents or who are you communicating?
Yeah, we are communicating mostly with parents and the kids if they're
So
13 or older.
So do you have situations in which children know how to use this, or situations in which they don't know how to use technology, and then you provide some help with that?
So
or?
most of the kids had some interaction with the handheld technology, so they know how to use their the haptic interaction with a smartphone or a tablet. But in lots of cases, this was their first interaction with a keyboard, so a less intuitive way of interacting with technology. And so it was really good to see that they are able to grasp rapidly all these new ways of interacting with the world in the end. And there were some spectacular experiences with kids that have received, let's say on Wednesday, their first computer, and on Saturday they were participating to Scratch lessons with our CoderDojo mentors, not in Timișoara but in, I don't know, Gura Humorului or in Bucharest or in Craiova, and they were both impressed and impressing to the mentors. And so right now we are building the next layer over this project, beyond securing the technology there and the interaction with them. We are now starting to work on building content and educational experiences.
I see. So how do you do that?
Luckily enough, we have accessed some financing program developed by the county council, directed towards online experiences.
So is that in a form of what, a blog, or?
There will be online educational sessions,
Webinars
or hands-on demonstration on how to, I don't know, build your first game in Scratch or in other technology. Also, there will be lots of let's call them motivational interventions by our more advanced kids who will be able to demonstrate that, with some works and some support from outside over a short period of time, you can really become autonomous and to become kind of an autonomous learner. And so the kids need the encouragements. They need to understand that there are plenty of resources online, and with some decision and some support, they can really build their own pathway in this direction. We will build on our existing project, and we will try to involve these kids to our online activities that were in some way, I have to admit, neglected and put on hold over these months, but it's obvious that we have to build our online approaches too. We've been probably over-optimistic that in 3 or 4 months things will return to their normal, but...
So talking about things returning to normal or not, tell me a little bit about the anti-COVID project.
Yeah. So this anti-COVID project was an activity of a group of kids from the CoderDojo context. So CoderDojo is a novel type of activity. I think it's unique in Romania so far, where kids are combining their life science plus informatics interests. It's only 1.5 years old, but it advanced fantastically. We had some team participating to international competitions in Russia and Italy, securing very good ranking, and they have quite often they want to become, as I told you, mentors and to become resources for other kids. And after in December, January, we were working on building the 2020 mini CoderDojo, so a set of sessions dedicated to kids 12 to 14, so the what's that?
Secondary
school, and with this pandemic coming over us, we understood that they can translate with their already existing knowledges in biology, in genetics. They can translate in some way these scientific notions and terms. So they have started to work with our friends from there is that Timișoara is one of the venues where we are working, where there was a very good videographer, and also Darius, and also a very good guy who was, I think he has 1 or 2 years experience in building podcasts. So they started and they built, I think, a series of 6 or 7 podcasts tackling the coronavirus from different directions, starting from the genetics part up to the legal ones, very practical advice on how to avoid exposure or how to reduce risks. And then they build up a whole system of promoting it. So they ended up with a significant audience and interaction with their audience. Unfortunately, when the emergency state was imposed, the capacity to get in the studio and to have kind of access to professional equipment really prevented us to continue. But the good thing is that they got, I don't know, attached to the idea, and when in April the European Commission developed the EU versus virus hackathon, that team, I don't know if according to the rules or against the rules, they participated to that hackathon with two different projects. So one of them was this Corona Cast, so developing more content, and another one was is the mini CoderDojo. So they have developed bioinformatics content. I don't know, over a weekend they have developed 20% of the one year long educational
That's
program.
amazing.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and I'm still trying to stop them at some point and to ask them to, okay, you should decide, at least one person should be only focused and active in one project, and it's not possible. They want to be involved in everything, and they want to be.
That's amazing, no? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me briefly about your other projects. Let me ask you your involvement in Startup Hub, Banat
okay.
IT, Women in Tech.
Yeah. So Startup Hub was, I think, the second co-working space in Timișoara. It was an temporary like 2.5, 3 years, even more, 5 years project located in the main business district of Timișoara at that time. So in the same building with various high-tech companies of Timișoara. That was also a venue for tech events by different tech communities developed here in Timișoara. So it was the epicenter of various initiatives. So we have organized there the first editions of the Timișoara startup weekends. It was the place where we have organized the first CoderDojo events, and then it continued there with the innovation labs was also implemented there. Again, a place where this event innovation was welcome and practiced. It was also the place where the Banat IT initiative started. The place. No, we haven't organized a HackTM in Startup Hub because of the space limitation, but it was the headquarters of HackTM, the biggest hackathon in Southeastern Europe. We have organized. So, plenty
you seem
of.
Like a very busy person.
Yeah, and I would say.
But very happy.
Very happy and prolific one. I'm not definitely the best implementer of all these initiatives, but I'm starting them. I'm encouraging people to take them over and to make them better.
Okay, but how do you convince people to take over some of your ideas? How do you tell people?
No,
can you dedicate time for this project? How do you convince them?
So I think that they are
convinced by the idea?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you know how to look for the right people? Is that it? What would you say?
Not necessarily.
Okay, but what would you say then?
I'm able to generate interesting contexts.
Aha.
And
That's it.
then people are
So
coming.
interesting context mean what? Means what exactly? Like, I don't know,
Like-
putting people, getting to know each other, organizing some meetings.
Organizing.
What is it?
So it's offering people the possibility to join
Aha.
innovative projects for our city. Interesting context to meet other like-minded, or I don't know, to meet visiting experts, or so. I think that probably this is my best part. I don't know, bringing people together, not necessarily knowing what will emerge,
Yes.
but bringing people with same interest or same openness, people interested to discover new initiatives, and from here on they are volunteering, they're ready to get involved. And
So scientists call this, your position, a structural fold.
okay,
So
I
you're the
should-
person who's part of different cohesive groups that is able to bring not only fresh ideas from reverberating from all
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
groups that you're
Okay.
part of, but also the the
needed-
motivation,
okay.
the different perspectives and things like that. So as opposed to a structural whole, for example, which is an in-betweener that is the only person connected to like different groups. I think you're at the overlap of many interesting
Yeah, that's true.
groups in at least in the Timișoara community, which of course spans in the diaspora as well. And
Additionally to this, I can return to the CoderDojo. That's probably the most diverse such initiative. When you are taking the core theme and you're bringing in people who are outside the core theme, but they can contribute with their own vision and their own fields, knowledge. So they're probably not bringing the fundamental elements of what's building, but they're bringing details or connecting pieces to, for example, some of the most exciting events within this CoderDojo were those when we brought in people coming from fields like philosophy, or arts,
Yes.
and then opening to participants, I don't know, doors towards totally different fields, and showing how a specific type of knowledge is used by other. And I think that this is the most dynamic and fertile type of place or happening. Or
it's very interesting. And tell me, you are the co-founder, right, of Women in Tech. Why?
Why? Yeah.
Women in Tech Timișoara, yeah? Why is that?
Yeah, Women in Tech Timișoara is one of the two initiatives. Doing kind of positive discrimination, or so. Definitely, Women in Tech is a syntagm that's pretty common worldwide. So, in lots of geographies, someone understood that women should be considered as sufficiently used resource or kind of a reservoir of talent or energy or even this different way of seeing things, and so it's kind of syncretic approach, and also I have to admit I enjoy I don't know, seeing interesting approaches and trying to localize them. So it's not my own invention, but it was something I have proposed to women in tech. I'm pretty sure that there are still lots of things to be done there, and there's still lots of unused potential. I'm not a leader of that one. I'm trying to be a source of opportunities, of resources, maybe some from time to time a challenger or a disturbance generator. I'm not sure that always the answers are energetic enough, but so the idea is that I'm a believer in the potential of women to play a much more active role in this field. The other one is dedicated to young students in the pre-university classes. It's girls STEAM power. STEAM as the vapors, but also science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So I'm trying to expose these students, including my own daughter. She's in the 7th grade now, to science, to this fantastic world of discoveries, and I'm trying to invite role models, people who are women who are excelling in their fields, just to inspire them to unveil the value of their work, how challenging things are, how difficult, but also potentially approachable these fields are. Again, it's great to make use of all these opportunities when someone is visiting Timișoara and is able to inspire these young ladies. I'm always diverting that person. I know that you had a quite difficult and demanding program these days, but couldn't you meet for 1.5 hours some innocent young girls that never heard about meteorology other than looking at the TV forecast program, but they really deserve to know what means from the scientific point of view the understanding of the climate, or
And role models are usually enthusiastic about doing this, right?
Apparently, yes,
Yes, of
and
course.
or they cannot find ways to reply with a refuse to my invitations.
So Radu, tell me, you probably touched upon it while you were talking, but tell me what would be, a life lesson in terms of success and failure from your projects? Something, both the positive and the negative that you really learned from, and that really changed the way you approach or you see your either your role in this or how to actually make give something positive to the community.
So something that probably those who are listening to our discussion should have already learned is that you shouldn't confine to a very limited field. No matter what have you studied, no matter what are you currently work, do not consider that your life is totally settled. Be open towards change, be open towards challenges, try to work with others and invent things. It's not important to make them perfect. Things are always improving, no matter if it will be you that will get to the next level of improvement or others. Yeah, be ready to leave a specific project when you see that there is another team that is doing it even better than you have did it before. Do not do not wait with starting of a project until you'll have 100% of the needed ingredients. They will come later, and maybe it will be even better to struggle a little bit to get to success with half of the weapons you ideally would have. Yeah, do not, expect immediate success, but celebrate each progress, even if it's one single step. And if possible, work with very young kids. They are always a source of energy, and they are incredible, resourceful, and ready to follow and to even take over when you permit them.
In terms of failures, what would be like the most important step backwards that you had to take in order to improve the way you approach it?
Failing. Probably part of the major failures I can identify in my own projects is by being too focused on them. So try to communicate them much more and to much more people. You can definitely attract more support from organizations, from institutions, from sponsors, if you are able to put more energy in opening towards the environment. And failing, there is a failure whenever part of your team departs, or but if you are looking at that moment as okay, there is a team that's taking your project and it's progressing it to the next level, also celebrate that, and
that's not a failure.
Stay, and stay in touch with that team in any way you can.
Yes. Wow, Radu, you're quite a resource of stories and ideas, and it's amazing the way you do things. How does your day look like?
Right now I'm my days were not affected significantly by the pandemic. I think that I spent in the last starting with March, I spent less than 8-10 days without getting out of the house and interacting physically with people. My wife is a doctor, and there were some periods when she visited her hospital much less than I did it. But a typical day, definitely right now in holidays and in the Educate Me time involves my presence here in an ex-English pub that's now our operational base.
The photos from inside are amazing. To see like a ruined pub basically being transformed and repurposed for the social good. That's amazing.
And hopefully it will stay longer as a center of educational activities and community activism done by mostly high school kids with support from other people. So I'm meeting lots of people. I'm biking from a place to another. What's typical? Spending probably 10 or 12 hours here, getting back home quite late, understanding how my family is doing, how are they spending their day. Some early night emailing and discussing with potential new partners, finding out about other projects that can be transplanted here in Timișoara. So and right now we are preparing several local implementations of some concepts developed in UK or in Poland.
Can we get a glimpse into that?
There's a Meet IT initiative built by mostly expat students in UK, building some 2 days long camps for high school kids mostly, or even younger kids, combining programming or STEM lectures with networking and social interaction, and some sports, and as international as possible.
That's a great concept.
Combination. Then there is something we have discussed in March with some Teen in AI group in London. We are also trying to bring that concept involving again high school kids with some summer camps, some hackathons, and then some incubators of AI connected projects. Yeah, so
Radu, your involvement in the local community is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
We are very lucky to have you.
Yeah, I'm stimulated by these young people and their readiness.
There's a lot of energy happening there that really needs to, be put to fruition.
Yeah, one more thing I'm disclosing now. It's again connected with Educate Me. So we'll start to invite seasoned professionals and top managers from local organizations in 2 or 3 hours long volunteering activities with our high school kids that are volunteering, trying to expose them to this very experienced professionals that are not easy to rub shoulders with that often. And so if you want to meet, I don't know, the general manager of a 3,000 employees company in Timișoara and you're a high school kid, you have a way by volunteering in Educate Me and then joining him or her at a breakfast and
that's amazing.
I don't know, cleaning keyboards or testing computers. Yeah.
Wow, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Radu, thank you so much for spending the time with us and for enriching us with all these different ideas and projects that you're involved with.
Thanks for conveying to the wider audience ideas and approaches, and
we'll keep in touch.
Looking forward to meet you again, eventually volunteering with our kids in installing that open source operating systems.
Very nice, thanks.
Good, thanks.
Radu Ticiu talked about his prolific experience in creating opportunity structures for young people to pursue fulfilling professional careers. His successful mobilization of unique, large-scale and long-lasting movements of help during the pandemic, and the role of fluid, collaborative, inclusive networks of people in driving innovation and systematic, sustainable change. At the apex of social change and new technologies, Radu is both a hub and a structural fold. His power derives from his position of brokerage connecting otherwise unconnected islands of knowledge and drive, as well as his belonging to small, diverse, cohesive social and professional groups. From people like Radu, we learn that local-level positive action reverberates into long-lasting social fabrics that institutionalize positive change. We are the digital society. You, me, and everyone who, forced or not by circumstances, live digital. In this formula, we can learn from one another through concrete examples from simple people who succeeded together. To their mission, adding value, we can contribute too, each of us in our own ways. Through small steps, becoming more and more courageous like Radu, we too can contribute to the common good. It's time to connect, learn, act. You've listened to the second episode of the Digital Society podcast, Social and Tech, from the first season, Stories from a Natural Experiment. Thank you for your attention. I am Silvia Fierescu, the one connecting doers with their potential. The Social and Tech episode would not have been possible without the volunteering work of an entire team. Thank you, Alexandra Florea, for taking the lead on this one, George Deteșan and Yanis Rușitoru for editing and production, Bianca Dohan and Raluca Paleu for the image of this episode, as well as its entire marketing and communication. Thank you, Bogdana Buzărnescu, for the show notes, Andreea Rais, Cosmin Iliescu, Ileana Rotaru, David Morar, Bogdan Nadolu, and Adina Baia for vision and feedback. Until the next episode, we invite you on our website, www.digitalsocietypodcast.com, where you will also find our follow-up segment with Radu Ticiu, where he answers the question: how do you fund a good idea into a sustainable, institutionalized model? Stay tuned for the upcoming releases in the featured content series on our blog. Erika Islay shines light on the inspiring profile of a communication specialist working in the industry of good. George Gurescu, storyteller-in-chief at the Association for Community Relations. Cosmin Iliescu launches his new series Noi 2.0 or Us 2.0 with a conversation with Codruț Ivănescu on rare IT skills, together with a reflection piece on their unlikely but innovative use in social change. For inspiration and help, explore our website for all the digital resources mentioned by our guests on the theme Social and Tech.
You've listened to Digital Society Podcast. Connect, learn, act. Until next time, have fun changing the world.